Welcome to the Working Thesis. I am Maya, and today we have reached the highly anticipated season finale of the agent era. Over the last 5 episodes, we have rigorously covered $60 billion acquisitions, automated oracles, agentic commerce, and the wildly unpredictable frontiers of physical AI. We have thrown a massive, almost overwhelming amount of technical and strategic information at you.
But as of 2026, and still fundamentally evolving by the minute, the specifics are incredibly fleeting. The underlying models change, the APIs get replaced, and the product names you memorize today will almost certainly be completely rebranded by next Tuesday. If you aggressively try to track every single minor release from OpenAI, Microsoft, and Anthropic, you will just drown in the noise.
Exactly. You absolutely cannot build a durable, decade-long career strategy by memorizing exactly where every single wave broke on the beach. You have to learn how to read the deeper tide and the prevailing wind. You need enduring, robust mental models that remain undeniably true, regardless of which company wins the benchmark race this month.
So today, we are synthesizing everything we've learned into the core permanent principles of the agent era. No new facts, no new product announcements, just the enduring foundational frameworks you need to actually deeply understand what is happening and where you should definitively place your bets. A quick, honest note before we start. This is a thinking out loud series about where AI agents are heading. It is exploration and opinion, not advice of any kind.
We will flag the difference between what is actually shipping today and where we think things are going. This is a 2026 snapshot, and it is evolving fast, so treat it as a map, not a forecast, and go explore for yourself. The first enduring principle is what we continually call brain versus body. For the first few explosive years of the generative AI boom, the entire industry was exclusively obsessed with the brain. We mistakenly treated the large language model as if it were the entire end-to-end product. But the model is simply a raw reasoning engine.
The model sets the theoretical reasoning ceiling. It determines the maximum complexity of logic the system can possibly handle. But the harness, the body intricately surrounding that brain, sets the efficiency floor and strictly dictates the breadth of what is actually possible. A brilliantly intelligent brain with no hands can't write a file, execute a search, or fix a production bug.
This is exactly why we are seeing such massive, eye-watering valuations for companies furiously building the harness. The body is the critical translation layer that turns raw intelligence into actual economic utility. When you evaluate a new AI tool, don't just blindly ask what model is under the hood. Ask, what can its hands actually do? And how reliably does its memory work?
If the brain is fundamentally becoming a commodity, the body is the absolute differentiator. The agentic loop, that tireless, relentless cycle of thinking, acting, and reacting, is the heartbeat of that body. Deeply understanding the split between the interchangeable LLM and the sticky harness is the foundation of everything else we've discussed.
That naturally, inevitably leads to our second principle. Value lives in the periphery. If the raw model is aggressively becoming highly capable and widely accessible, whether through cheap APIs or massive open weights, the economic value inevitably migrates away from the center and floods out to the edges.
The periphery is exactly where the actual, messy workflow happens. It's the specialized tools the agent uses, the intensely private data it has access to, the daily surfaces like the IDE or the Word document where the user lives, and the cryptographic trust rails that keep the whole system secure.
Think about the travel agent example from episode 3. The value wasn't in the model knowing what Hawaii is. The immense value was in the MCP tools connecting securely to the airline, the A2A protocols negotiating the final price, and the agentic payment rails securing the financial transaction.
The companies that will absolutely dominate the next decade are the ones ruthlessly building the periphery. They are the ones manufacturing the picks and shovels, laying the deep financial tracks for agents to spend money safely, and building the generative graphical interfaces that allow humans to comfortably interact with alien machine logic.
Our third principle beautifully explains why AI automation arrives in some industries overnight, while others remain stubbornly, defiantly manual. We passionately call it the 2 gates. For an autonomous AI agent to fully conquer a domain, it must pass through a cheap oracle and a cheap output form.
The oracle is the automated, objective judge. It is the system that can instantly tell the agent if it succeeded or failed, allowing it to self-correct thousands of times without human intervention. The output form is the actual physical or digital artifact. To loop safely, the cost of making a mistake must be near zero, like editing text on a screen.
Coding was the absolute beachhead because it had both gates blown wide open. It had the rigid compiler as the oracle and plain text as the output form. Domains like creative writing fail the oracle gate because taste is endlessly subjective. Domains like physical robotics violently fail the output gate because dropping a glass is irreversible and expensive.
When you look at your own company or your own daily job, don't ask, is this task too complex for AI to understand? Ask, does this task currently have an automated oracle? And is the output cheap to reverse? If the answer to both is yes, agents are aggressively coming for it tomorrow. If the answer is no, you are safe for a much longer time.
But what exactly do you do about the tasks that don't magically have those two gates? That brings us to our fourth principle. Verification is the wall. Wherever there is no cheap oracle, the agent hits a hard, insurmountable limit. It cannot loop autonomously, and it must gracefully fall back to a human.
This is the most critical, defining constraint in the agent era. You must forcefully keep a human in the loop whenever subjective taste or high-stakes physical consequences are involved. You absolutely cannot simply tell an agent to just do it if it involves spending large amounts of money or interacting with your clients unsupervised. Here is me thinking out loud. Let's extrapolate this wall into a future career path. This is speculation, but picture the job market in 2035.
I love where this is going. In 2035, the most highly paid, prestigious job isn't software engineer or corporate lawyer. It's Oracle architect or verification engineer. We no longer write the actual work. We spend all our time writing the adversarial simulated environments that try to break the AI's work.
Exactly. You sit in a massive office building just designing elaborate mathematical traps for agents. Because the AI can generate 1 million contracts a second, the only bottleneck in the global economy is whether a human or a human-designed simulation can verify that those contracts won't bankrupt the company. Verification becomes the ultimate bottleneck of human progress.
The human completely shifts from being the creator to being the editor-in-chief. You are the final, ultimate oracle. Managing the friction of that verification, making it as easy and intuitive as possible for the human to check the work, is the ultimate UX challenge of the next 5 years. Which perfectly leads to our fifth, and perhaps most deeply human, principle. We've spent this entire exhaustive series talking about how agents natively use tools, how they learn, and how they execute. But the most important, vital adaptation has to happen inside of us. You must relentlessly verify before you trust.
It is incredibly, dangerously easy to be lulled into a false sense of security. When an agent speaks with total, unearned confidence, generates a beautiful, glossy interface, and completes a grueling task in seconds, our natural human instinct is to lazily assume it got everything right. But the brilliant brain in the jar still hallucinates, and the digital hands still slip.
We have to fiercely demand the exact same rigorous discipline from ourselves that we demand from the agents. We build massive automated test suites to keep the code honest. We need to build uncompromising mental test suites to keep ourselves honest when we evaluate the AI's output.
It's the ultimate beautiful irony of the agent era. As the machines get more autonomous, the human's role ironically becomes more intensely focused on critical thinking, deep judgment, and refined taste. The less we have to type on a keyboard, the more we have to think.
And that brings us to the final meta principle of this entire series. Date the specifics. Aggressively teach the principles. Whenever you read a breathless headline about a massive new AI breakthrough, check the date. Deeply understand the context, but relentlessly look for the underlying mechanism.
Is it a slightly smarter new model, or is it a fundamentally new harness? Does it ingeniously open a new oracle, or just slightly improve the output form? Is it a clever context layer memory trick, or genuinely terrifying true weight level learning? When you ruthlessly use these frameworks, the hype cycle stops being overwhelming and starts becoming entirely predictable.
You stop worrying about being replaced by a chatbot, and you start actively looking for where you can build the next loading dock. You start looking for the periphery. You start seeing the cold, mechanical gears behind the magic.
The agent era is fundamentally not about a godlike artificial general intelligence descending from the cloud to miraculously do everything for us. It is about a billion tiny, tireless loops, constantly iterating, rigorously checking their work, and always asking us for the final green light.
And with that, we have officially reached the end of the agent era. We built this massive series to give you the strategic, enduring map to successfully navigate the next phase of the AI revolution, purposefully moving beyond the basic mechanics and deep into the harsh economic realities of how human work is actually going to change.
Whether you are a senior developer nervously looking at the future of your IDE, a startup founder trying to desperately figure out where to place your venture bets, or just a deeply curious professional trying to honestly understand the headlines, we hope these principles help you read the tide and the wind.
We want to thank you so incredibly much for joining us on this intellectual journey. It has been an absolute privilege. Keep experimenting, keep verifying, and keep intensely looking at the periphery. For the Working Thesis, I am Maya.
And I am Theo. Thank you for watching, and farewell. And that is us thinking out loud for today. If this gave you a clearer map of where the agent era is heading, do us a favor and subscribe. It genuinely helps more curious people find the show.
We are figuring this out right alongside you, one episode at a time. So hit follow, and we will see you in the next one.